Good evening. I call to order our regular city council meeting. Today is Thursday, December 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m. We'll start with our opening prayer. This evening we have Pastor Jim Case from Tallmadge Lutheran Church. Please stand up, and then we'll follow with council leading the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you for waiting for me. Let us turn to God in prayer. Dear Lord, in this holiday season, we have a most beautiful tree in our circle around the Tallmadge circle. And we have many of us coming here from different beliefs, different directions, and different faiths. But we know that you are here, and I ask that you will bless our mayor, that our council, our directors, our finance, our treasurer, and all decisions that will be made tonight and throughout the coming year, that you will bless them, bless the decisions that they make to the betterment of Tallmadge, Ohio. We ask your blessings on this time now as we give thanks to your presence. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next up, before we go to item 3, which is roll call, just wanted to take a moment to introduce our newest at-large councilwoman, Christine Sippa, who was elected by our Republican Central Committee and sworn in today by the Honorable Judge Scott Stevenson. So welcome, Christine, to council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Jonathan Bolas.
Here.
Christine Sippa.
Here.
Jessica Epstein.
Here.
Mary Gutman.
Here.
Donald Pavlik.
Here.
Ted Roy.
Here.
Nick Rubino.
Here.
Thank you. We have full attendance this evening with the 7 councilors. Moving on to item 4, correcting and adopting the previous meeting minutes for 11/14/24 council meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the meeting minutes as presented. Any discussion from council? All right, thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Christine Sippa.
Yes.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
Nick Rubino.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolas.
Yes. Meeting minutes have been adopted by a vote of 7-0. Moving on, next item, financial reports. Tonight, we are in receipt of the Fire and EMS Fund transfer in the amount of $415,000, Street Maintenance and Repair Fund transfer in the amount of $420,000, the OEMA ARPA First Responders Grant to Federal Fund in the amount of $105,168 to Council on 11/27/24, the Appropriation Report, Fund Report, and Revenue Report for the period ending 11/31/24 to Council on 12/5/24, November financial reports to Council on 12/5/24, Tallmadge Recreation Center Profit and Loss Report for the period ending 11/31/24 to Council on 12/5/24, income tax comparisons for the period ending 11/31/24 to Council on 12/5/24, income tax by source report for the month of November to Council on 12/5/24, revenue comparisons for major funds for the period ending 11/31/24 to Council on 12/5/24, consolidated investment portfolio for the period ending 11/31/24 to Council on 12/5/24.
I move to approve these reports as submitted.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve accepting the reports, the financial reports as presented. Any discussion on the financial reports or questions for our finance director or administration? All right, thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
Nick Rubino.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolas.
Yes.
Christine Sippa.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Financial reports approved by a vote of 7-0. All right, moving on to next item. We have public hearings. We have 2 public hearings this evening. The first one is ordinance 2024-65, amended Exhibit A. And at this point, I will turn the meeting over to the Finance Chair, Mr. Donald Pavlik.
Thank you. I call the finance meeting to order. We have ordinance 2024-65 amended Exhibit A before us this evening. Adopting a budget for various funds of the city of Tallmadge, Ohio for current expenses and other expenditures during fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025, appropriating the necessary funds for the administration thereof, authorizing transfers between funds, and providing for a needed enactment. Sponsor of this ordinance is Mayor Carol Kilway. This ordinance is read in the record. The finance time, right? We got to do the time. 7:06. Okay, called. Okay. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of ordinance 2024-65?
Mr. Pavlik,
Yeah.
you're calling
Oh,
committee
okay.
to order, and then you're
Okay,
going
yep.
your public hearing, and you're opening the
it.
public hearing. You do state the time.
Okay. So I call the public meeting here in order to order. Amendment ordinance 2024-65 amendment Exhibit A. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of ordinance 2024-65? Is there anyone who would like to speak against ordinance 2024-65? For the second time, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of ordinance 2024-65? Is there anyone who would like to speak against ordinance 2024-65? And for the third and final time, is there anyone here who would like to speak for ordinance 2024-65? Okay, it is now 7:07 PM. I will close the public hearing and open up Finance Committee. Is there any questions from council or the administration? Is there a motion for ordinance 2024-65 amended?
I'd move to adopt.
Second?
I will second.
Is there any comments or questions? Council? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
Nick Rubino.
Yes.
Jonathan Bolas.
Yes.
Christine Sipa.
Going to abstain.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
Okay, with that, ordinance 2024-65 amended A passes with a motion of 6-0 with one abstention. I now call the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Pavlik. All right, moving on to our second public hearing this evening. We have at third reading ordinance 2024-66 tract. I here call the Personnel Committee to order. We have ordinance 2024-66 before us. This ordinance is establishing the number of non-collective bargaining employees by department and position pursuant to RC 731.08 and providing for immediate enactment. Sponsor of this ordinance is Mayor Carol Kilway. It is now 7:09 PM, and I will call the public hearing to order. Is there anyone here this evening who would like to speak in favor of ordinance 2024-66? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against ordinance 2024-66? For the second time, is there anyone this evening who would like to speak in favor of ordinance 2024-66? Is there anyone who would like to speak against ordinance 2024-66? Third and final time, is there anyone who would like to speak for ordinance 2024-66? Or is there anyone here who would like to speak against ordinance 2024-66? All right, it is now 7:10 PM, and I will close the public hearing and open the Personnel Committee. So again, this evening, we have at third reading our ordinance 2024-66 tract. Do we have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2024-66 tract. Any discussion by council or administration this evening? All right. If no discussion, we'll go ahead and call the roll.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Christine Sypa,
Abstain.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
All right, thank you. We have ordinance 2024-66 tract passed by a vote of 6-0 with one abstention. At this point, I will now close Personnel Committee. And now, moving on to item 7, community input. This evening, we have Julia Lewis, who lives at 63 Nottingham in Tallmadge, who would like to speak regarding the West Avenue overlay. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address. These meetings are recorded, and you have approximately 2 minutes.
Julia Lewis, 63 Nottingham Street. I need to speak fast, and 2 minutes is totally inadequate for the project in front of you. So you're going to be seeing me at every meeting, and I'm going to take my 2 minutes in every meeting. But tonight, I'm going to give you the big idea, and here's the big idea. Up till now, our resident, and I'm going to talk about the field. The field, which is what I'm talking about, is rimmed by West Overdale and Nottingham. It was behind the old Rocco's Plaza. That's the field I'm talking about. Residents have never wanted anything there. But now it's come down to crunch time, and you guys are going to put something back there that's going to affect our lives, the rest of our lives. I read from your website, and I quote, "Responsibilities of the council, legislation that promotes the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Tallmadge," unquote. So what you put back there in my backyard has to promote my health, welfare, and safety. And you got to think about what that's going to be, because you have a huge choice here. And you have a great opportunity. If you choose the overlay, if you vote for that overlay, you can have a wonderful community back there. You can make a great community. And it would uplift, it would promote that entire neighborhood. It would help Nottingham, it would help West Overdale, it would ripple into Mark and Smith Drives. It would help Garden Street, it would help Marianne. If you vote yes, you get a nice ranch single-family homes, ranch homes, condo homes, you build a park, you get trails. It would be great. It would be fantastic. If you vote no, you're doing nothing to promote. You are breaking your responsibility to me. Your responsibility to me. You're responsible to me for my health, safety, and welfare. And if you vote no, and I keep pointing this way because that's the way the field is from my house. It's at my back property line. If you vote no, the setback right now is 25 feet between residential and commercial. You can add 10 feet for a road. You got 35 feet. You know the dimensions of this room? I know it because I checked with your custodial staff. You've got 46 feet by 30 feet. So if you're sitting at my back property line, if you vote no, you're going to have a 4-story residential building right there. Right there. And you're not going to have the front of it. You're going to have the back of it, because the front's going to face West Avenue. And it's going to face the middle of the project. We get the backs of the buildings. You know what's at the back of a commercial building? Trash, dumpsters, delivery doors, lights. 35 feet from my back property line does not promote. You would be violating the oath you took. You ran for this position or were appointed. You accepted it. You have a promise to promote the health, safety, and welfare of everyone in that community. And now that something's going back there, you got to think about this. This is a big idea. You're going to promote it? You're going to get residential back there? Or you're going to
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
destroy it? Think about that.
Thank you very much.
2 minutes isn't enough.
I'll be
Any,
back.
any comments or from the administration or council for Miss Julia Lewis?
I would just like to thank Ms. Lewis for coming in and sharing her passion for this. Thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate that. Looking forward to hearing from you again soon. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming in as well and sharing your thoughts. Okay, moving on to item 8, we have agenda additions. We have council's confirmation of Regina Cochran to Civil Service Commission. We were given a short bio by Mayor Kilway regarding Ms. Cochran. Would anyone like to make a motion to confirm, or would Mayor Kilway would like to present any additional information for Ms. Cochran?
So you do have her bio, so you have all of her professional, information. She's a very, very bright, shining young star in our city. She does a fantastic job with her job at SUMA, but she's also a great mother, wife, friend to the community. They come to, I see her family at all of the community events. They come to as many as they can. And they're transplants into Tallmadge. They're not, Tallmadge homegrown, as I like to call them. But her and her family, they're just very, new Tallmadge people that love our community. They want the best for our community. I think she'd be a great asset. And she's also, she's young, so I'm trying to foster, those that are in their, young as in their 30s, because I'm not in my 30s anymore. So I'm trying to foster that age group in order to get involved with our city. And so I would love to just add her onto Civil Service Commission. She has the experience needed with contracts and human resources that could help the commission out a lot.
Well, I appreciate the biography information. And for those on council and the audience or those at home, this was brought upon us by a vacancy that's forthcoming from an expired term, right?
Right, so her term would not begin until January 1st. We do have 2 members of the Civil Service Commission that are retiring at the end of this year.
Okay, so we should anticipate another.
Yes, I'm still waiting to hear back from another individual that I've asked.
All right. Thank you for that biography. Any comments or questions from council?
I'll make a motion to approve Ms. Cochran.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the appointment of Regina Cochran to Civil Service Commission. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Christine Zipa,
Abstain.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
All right, we've received council's confirmation by a vote of 6-0 with 1 abstention to appoint Regina Cochran to Civil Service Commission. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up for agenda additions, we have council confirmation of the 2025 council meeting dates. Everyone should have had time to look these over, and you have a copy in front of you this evening. Are there any comments or questions regarding the proposed dates? This is our time to make any amendments to this. Looking at your 2025 vacation plans throughout spring and summer months? And any conflicts where we would not have a quorum of council for either spring or summertime?
Mr. Bolus?
Yes.
The only thing I would ask for you to double-check would be potentially, and I don't know what the date is off the top of my head, Tallmadge High School graduation. I know it's in May. I think it used to always be on a Thursday. I'm not sure if it changed or not in the last couple of years.
Does anybody know that date off? Or maybe we can look it up?
I don't know, and I don't know if it's going to affect anyone on council either,
Yeah.
so.
Good call.
My daughter's graduation is that May 22nd. She doesn't go to Tallmadge, but I will be absent. So if it is also the high school graduation, that could be a conflict.
I'll
for 'em.
also be out of town.
All right, so the May 22nd date is in question at this moment? And again, this is just making sure we have a quorum of council. I know I will not be here the week of July 21st. So the July 24th date, I will be absent.
Tallmadge graduation will be May 20th.
May 20th?
Yes.
Thank you.
So it's
Okay.
next Tuesday.
All right. All right, and then with the May 20th date for Tallmadge graduation and the other high school graduations that week, so right now we have two counselors absent that week, is that right? Okay. Yeah, so we still have a quorum. Any other dates in question for anyone? Obviously, we have spring break. That isn't, the meeting's not in session for the week of spring break for Tallmadge City Schools. We typically have a budget work session sometime in November. So we should set that as well today, if possible. And I know it's hard to think about that right now. We can always amend it.
Do we set that now or we set that later?
What would be?
It's up to you, whatever you would like. If you want to wait and set it later, I think that would be fine,
I
too.
think we
Okay.
can set it later.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll set the budget workshop for next year at a later meeting. And then we have the week of Thanksgiving and Christmas off. So if we're okay, I'm not hearing any dates where we wouldn't have a quorum. So,
I would make a motion to approve the dates as is, as presented.
Second.
all right. We have a motion and a second to accept the 2025 council meeting dates calendar as presented. Clerk, please call the roll.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Christine Seifer,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
All right, we have adopted the 2025 council meeting date calendar by a vote of 7-0. Thank you. Moving on to reports of administrative officers, we will start with Mayor Kilway.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to welcome Christine Sippa to the City of Tallmadge as our newest at-large councilperson. Thank you very much for putting your name in, and I'm very happy that you were selected. And I also want to thank Councilman Bolus for the Outlook invite to your precinct committee meeting. I think that was where you guys did select Mississippi for the replacement. I think that shows a great bipartisanship and civility in politics. So I want to thank you very much for inviting me to that. I really appreciated that. Everyone should all be in receipt of the Planning and Zoning Activity Report for November, the Tallmadge Police Department Traffic and Safety Initiatives, Tallmadge Fire Department Run Stats and Station Reports, and the Parks and Recreation November Report. You should have all received that throughout the beginning of this month. Some updates from the Tallmadge Fire Department. Tallmadge firefighter medic Tanner Baker, who is a technician-level member of the Summit County Technical Rescue Operations Team, they call it the TROT team, responded using the county's rescue unit that's housed at Station 2. And this unit provided essential equipment and workforce to assist in the rescue efforts. Also, our Tallmadge Battalion Chief Andy Miller, who's a member of the Tallmadge Summit County Technical Rescue Team and the Ohio Task Force 1 also reported to the scene, and they were both involved in the successful recovery of the 3 hikers at Brandywine Falls and Cuyahoga Valley National Park. The 3 individuals who were stuck down at the end of the falls when it got cold and they couldn't get back up, they were evaluated on the scene and released, but it was really nice that we were able to send a couple responders to go help them with that. So thank you very much for their risking their lives and their safety to help out those that needed the help. Also with the Tallmadge Fire Department, a firefighter medic and hazardous materials technician, Brittany Gamind, has been appointed to the Hazmat Zone as the Hazmat Zone Coordinator for Summit County Hazardous Materials Response Team. In this leadership role, Brittany will help coordinate training, assist with equipment maintenance and procurement, and contribute to research and securing grant opportunities for the team. Since joining the county team in August of 2023, Brittany has consistently demonstrated her dedication and expertise, making her an invaluable asset to both the county and the city of Tallmadge. So congratulations to Brittany on this very well-deserved appointment. Some updates from Tallmadge Police Department. We have 3 members of the Tallmadge Police Department who received the Distinguished Service Medal. The Distinguished Service Medal is the second highest award that is given out to officers. And Sergeant Ralph Stover and officers Jason Corzine and Bernie Cirillo were awarded this Distinguished Service Medal for demonstrating exemplary initiative and service, bringing positive regard to themselves and the department and the city of Tallmadge. Their actions led to the apprehension of a wanted felon, a violent felon, who had threatened law enforcement officers and was considered armed and dangerous. Through excellent leadership, superb performance, and calm professionalism during a very rapidly evolving and stressful, life-threatening situations, these officers exemplified the highest virtues of law enforcement. Their actions upheld the highest values and traditions of the Tallmadge Police Department. So this is the first Distinguished Service Medal for Sergeant Stover and Officer Corzine. And of special note, this is the 3rd Distinguished Service Medal awarded to Officer Bernie Cirillo. So congratulations to all of them as well. I also want to congratulate our Law Director, Megan Raber, on receiving the Investment in the Future Award at the Tallmadge Chamber of Commerce Annual Awards last night. So thank you very much for all that you do for our community, but especially for our children and helping them to become better people. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. As you all know, we did have our tree lighting on December 1st, and it was just an absolute beautiful night. I want to thank the Tallmadge High School a cappella singers, Tallmadge Rotary and Historical Society for providing the hot chocolate and cookies for everyone. I'd like to thank the Tallmadge Historical Society, the police and fire departments, all of the city staff, all the council members that came, volunteers, residents, and visitors who made the tree lighting a very special event. A special thank you to Mike Rohr and his team for making the circle look exceptionally beautiful, as well as Jessica Simons and her team for coordinating the event with activities. And we cannot forget to thank Santa and Grinch for making the night very, very magical. We are still collecting cold weather gear for the Peter Morin Society. We've been collecting cold weather gear for a while, and it's through December 15th. We joined forces with Cuyahoga Falls, Hudson, Monroe Falls, Silver Lake, Stowe, and the collection is going very well. This past Saturday, we had a drive-through drop-off at City Hall, and I want to thank the Tallmadge Middle School Builders Club and the Knights of Columbus for volunteering during the City Hall drop-off. I also want to thank several local businesses that supported this event individually by holding their own internal cold weather gear drive. Thank you to Root Salon and SD Myers for collecting a lot of coats and sleeping bags and hats and mittens, everything. And they brought, carloads of items some to City Hall and some went directly to the Peter Morin Society. So I want to thank everyone involved for supporting this worthy cause. McDonald's is now open for business. They did have their soft opening this last week. They're at 2 East Avenue, just off the circle. The ribbon cutting will be scheduled sometime in the near future. We also held our bi-monthly meeting with the Tallmadge City Schools, and we're continuing the Tallmadge Circle newsletter for 2025. This information we'll be providing is going to be expanding, and we're going to include Parks and Recreation Program Guide in the future newsletter. There's going to be more to follow in January as we continue to work through these exciting updates. I also want to thank everyone who took part in the Town Hall World Cafe-style meetings on November 19th, as well as the over 1,000 participants that completed the survey. I did receive a very nice email from a resident today saying how excited he is, quote, about the future of Tallmadge. I love the recent community engagement and the survey that was sent out. We get a lot of emails, and they're not always that nice, so it was really nice to get that, especially because of all of the initiatives that we're putting out right now. So that was really nice to get this morning. And then After Hours with the Mayor will resume on the second Thursday of the month, and they'll be starting on January 23rd. So is there any questions from council? No? Hearing none, end of report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next, our Director of Administration, Mr. Ignazito.
Good evening, council members, new council member Sipa, members of the administration and community members. I just have a few updates this evening. Negotiations continue with the Fraternal Order of Police / Ohio Labor Council for our patrol officers and sergeants. And then we also continue with the International Association of Firefighters. Those are ongoing. This evening, ordinance 2024-73, we ask for request your approval of this ordinance. It's for Teamsters Local 436. They passed their contract with the city, and we can conclude that and sign the contract with them if that ordinance is passed this evening. Additionally, the Tallmadge Part-Time Firefighter Association's passed their contract. This ordinance is 2024-74, and we're also requesting approval of that ordinance this evening so that we can sign that contract. The next, we continue our business engagements. We've conducted 3 since our last council session. We're on track to hit 50 for the year. That's the target. We visited Owens Corning, Modwash, and Merrick Springs. And it's good to see the growth going on in the city of Tallmadge, and it's good to get out there with the mayor and insight and engage with our businesses. Finally, I want to thank the mayor, the director of finance, director of law, fellow directors, chiefs, managers, city staff, and council for your support and guidance as we work through this past budget. As my first year back with the city, especially in this position. And a special thank you to Finance Director Raber, who I know I ask numerous questions to constantly. So thank you. Gilbright.
Gilbright.
That's what I wrote here.
That's okay, that's okay. We all do it. We all do it. It's fine.
That's why the ayes, okay. Thank you. Pending your questions, that's all I have.
All right, any questions or? No? All right, thank you very much. Next up, Director of Public Service, Roar.
Good evening. I'd like to request if council would consider passing ordinance 2024-85 be passed at first reading. Real quick, since it's winter time, just want to go over the snowplow routes. There's 3 types. The primary, which are the mains. Those are thoroughfares, traffic counts, traffic routes, businesses, schools, terrain, and pavement type that makes those. Secondary routes are cut-throughs through residentials, and then the allotment routes, which are the residentials, cul-de-sacs. Keep in mind, you might not get off the primary routes during a snow event, so it depends on the snow event or on how soon you can get your road hit. If you're on a cul-de-sac, you're the last one to get hit. I mean, that's just the way it works. So we can't be on every road at the same time. You can't get off the mains because if you get off of them too fast, they snow back over, you'll never gain them back. So it's a method to it. You just got to be patient. So just going over that. Second thing, we talked about outdoor basketball courts in the city. There's a full court at Lions, and there's a half court at Howe, and I would encourage everybody to get out there. We're planning on doing some pavement coloring and some striping on that. But that, in my opinion, is probably our best park right now. So definitely, it's a secret that there's a half basketball court there. And then the park master plan called for a half court at Kent and a half court at Washburn or Indian Hills. Keep in mind, those are sister parks that are connected by a bridge, and then a full court at Maca. So we're looking into that, and we'll keep everybody posted. But that half court there at Howe Road Park definitely could be something that we could improve next summer. Last thing, we had a resident come in, and I believe Councilman, I can't remember which councilman, Pavlik. I think Councilman Pavlik brought this up. West Avenue, from Sperry to the old, Circle K, people cheat going up that inside lane, acting like they're going to turn into the bank or the tattoo parlor, and then all of a sudden they cut over. We asked some engineers on how you could correct that. They came back with a turn lane there. So you'll have a turn lane, and then you can enforce it with the police department, because it's not a cut-through lane. It's nothing but pavement marking and some signs, and then obviously enforcement with the police department. So it should be an easy remedy.
I think that's what they asked for, why can't that be a turn lane?
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
thanks.
yep. So we're looking at that, and we'll probably add that to next year's pavement marking list to get that done.
Is that going to be just a turn going left, or is that going to be like a double arrow?
It'll be a double left. So
Okay.
depending on what, right?
Gotcha.
It'll, yep, so it'll be a double left.
So I guess the yellow line will be moved one lane over.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So, and that's it for my report, unless there's anything else.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rohr. All right, next up, Director of Finance, Ms. Kilbride.
Thank you. Everybody received your financial reports for the month. Ms. Sipp, I did forward them to you just now so that you had copies for your reference at a later time since you just got here. Everything, as you read in the report, is going well. We're preparing right now in my office to wrap up the year, close out our final payroll, and prepare, obviously, now that we have the new budget, get ready for that. We've had a pretty good year financially. Our income tax has been coming in at better than expected, and for the most part, without a few other things that we've brought to council throughout, our budget has been, we've been able to keep everything within budget. And that's all I have this evening, unless anybody has any specific questions about any of the finances.
All right. If no further questions, we'll move on to Director of Law, Ms. Raber.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be able to report tonight that we were able to finally finish the last title for the recodification and reviewing that. That has now been all sent to the codifier. It will take several months, so to refresh everyone's memory and bring people up to speed, that project is taking the entire Tallmadge codified ordinances, which I say this because the print off of the code is like this in two different binders, but we reviewed the entirety of the code. We're trying to clean up obsolete provisions that's been superseded by Ohio Revised Code, reconcile provisions that need reconciled with the Ohio Revised Code, and then clean up some of the things that we internally wanted to clean up. You will have all that in front of you, not for several more months. We're looking at probably end of Q1 or into Q2 at this point. We don't know exact dates because the codifier has still a lot of work to do on their end. They're going to also be trying to make sure all the numbering is uniform, really cleaning it up so that it looks and reads easier for everyone, so when they go to try to find something, it looks consistent and clean. So I've been very excited about this project. We've been working very hard on it, and I again want to thank all the directors that have worked on this, the chiefs, all the department heads have kind of sat down with our department and gone through it. But this latest round, I especially want to thank Mr. Rohr and Mrs. Hussing, who were instrumental in helping me finish that piece. So, thank you.
I like to say good times.
Oh, come on, it was a lot of fun.
All right, thank you very much for those reports. Next up, we will move on to item 10, reports of standing committees of council of the whole. First up this evening is planning and zoning. So I'll pass the mic to Councilwoman Gutman.
Thank you, Mr. Bolus. I will call planning and zoning to order. We have before us tonight 7 ordinances at first reading. And if there are no objections, because these are all related, I'll just read them all into the record and then open for discussion and comments, if that's okay? Okay, thank you. Okay, so first we have ordinance 2024-78 with Exhibit A, with a public hearing set for 12325 at 7:01 PM. Amending and supplementing Section 1102, Administration and Procedures of the Tallmadge Codified Ordinances by adding Section 1102.09.1, Certificate of Appropriateness. We have second, ordinance 2024-79 with Exhibit A, with a public hearing set for 12325 at 7:02 PM. Amending and supplementing Section 1103.14, Neighborhood Center Overlay District of the Tallmadge Codified Ordinances. We have ordinance 2024-80 with Exhibit A, with a public hearing set 12325 at 7:03 PM. Amending the zoning map, approving the general development plan with associated text, and adding Appendix B.2, Neighborhood Center Overlay District, portion of Northwest Avenue of the Tallmadge Codified Ordinances. We also have ordinance 2024-81 with Exhibit A, with a public hearing set 12325 at 7:04 PM. Amending the zoning map, approving the general development plan with associated text, and adding Appendix B3, Neighborhood Center Overlay District, portions of West Avenue, Wright Road, and Southwest Avenue of the Tallmadge Codified Ordinances. And we have ordinance 2024-82 with Exhibit A, with a public hearing set for 12325 at 7:05 PM. Amending and supplementing Section 1103.15, West Avenue overlay of the Tallmadge Codified Ordinances. We have ordinance 2024-83 with Exhibit A, and public hearing set for 12325 at 7:06 PM. Amending the zoning map, approving the general development plan with associated text, and adding Appendix B.4, West Avenue Overlay District, portion of West Avenue of the Tallmadge Codified Ordinances. And finally, ordinance 2024-84 with Exhibit A, with a public hearing set for 12325 at 7:07 PM, amending and supplementing Section 1103.29, Typologies Height Transition Zone of the Tallmadge Codified Ordinances. Okay, so with that, I'll just make the comment that I want to thank everyone who's been involved with this project over quite a while now. Our administration, the residents, and the business owners who've taken the time to comment and give their input for this substantial change. I think there's so many good things about it. I appreciate all the feedback that we've gotten as well, for the different aspects, and I understand that it's very high stakes for some of our residents. Mrs. Lewis, I appreciate what you had to say tonight and being here. And I know from other comments I've received that there are people who aren't here tonight who have similar feelings as well. So obviously, our public hearing is in January. We have that meeting before that and another one. So I would invite anyone else who has feedback for us to come and speak or to send us emails. It really is important to hear everybody's thoughts. Would anyone else like to make comments tonight?
Just wanted to thank all of council for your attendance at the Planning and Zoning meeting this week. That was great to see our engagement there. And then just thanking the administration. I know I've sent several emails regarding the strategic plan survey in parallel to the overlay, the planning and zoning survey that are active. I believe the strategic planning survey is closed as of today or yesterday, but the West Avenue survey is still active. Is that correct? Okay. Because I know I'd gotten some questions from the public on that. So just encourage everyone to continue to participate in that survey.
Mr. Bullis, I believe the survey for the West Avenue overlay and the Neighborhood Center overlay, that will close, I believe it's on December 20th.
Okay. So we have until December 20th to still get responses from our residents on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to say that I know, again, a lot of people put a lot of time and energy in this, and it could be a great project, but we definitely have to make sure we take care of our people. There's got to be a way that we can work this out. like I said, 45 feet's not a whole lot if businesses and stuff are back there. And I know there's a lot of thought going into all that, and hopefully we can work out something that we can keep the neighbors happy as well as make the project work. So that's all I want to say.
Mr. Willis, I do want to add, I want to thank not only Mrs. Hussing and Mrs. Raber, because they put a lot of work into the specifics and the legality of this whole project. I want to thank previous administrations. I know former Mayor Klein is in the audience right now. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for his forethought in redoing updating the comprehensive plan from 2017 and the zoning code in 2022, I believe it was. And all of this is just a culmination of all of that. So I want to thank everyone for all of that and just giving us the opportunity to be where we're at today. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kilway. Would anyone in the audience like to speak at this time? I wanted to make sure that if you had your chance. Okay.
Yep, yeah, I would permit that, yeah.
Yes, please. Please do. You can absolutely have 2 more minutes.
Thank you for allowing me 2 more minutes on this. I just want to give you an opportunity. You can think of it as an opportunity or a challenge or however you want to think of it. Homework. I was a teacher my whole life. I'm used to giving out homework. 2 things. I welcome you to come to my home. Come to my home and stand at the back of my property and see what it looks like from my point of view, please. And I want to thank Ted Roy because he's done that. I invite the rest of you to do that. And try to back out of my driveway, by the way, onto Nottingham Street. And, I want you to look at the Tallmadge Police Department's traffic report they did on Nottingham Street. They did that this summer. If you could please look at the results of that. I'm going to talk about that next time I see you. So if you have that information with you, that would be very helpful for that discussion. But I thank you for your interest in this. This is our lives. This is our future. And you basically hold that in your palm of your hand. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Any further comments or discussion at this time?
Councilwoman Gutman, I'm having a bad day. But the budget passed. So in regards to, for everybody's situational awareness, in regards to the traffic study, the Tallmadge Police Department has 2 passive radar units that they can set up on streets, and they're out there all the time, based on when when residents call and complain about speeding. This sits out there. It's does usually for 5 to 7 days. Usually they try to do a full week, and it will do a very detailed analysis of the cars and the vehicles and the traffic and speed and the times of day. So Chief Bohan had that done on Nottingham because of residents' request, and we will get that to you prior to next council meeting.
So this just collects data, it doesn't ticket?
That's correct. That's why I say passive. It sits there, it collects data, and it gives a report. Well, they have to pick it up. It's not transmitting. We got the cheap ones.
Thank you.
Director, has there been a traffic study done prior to what we're talking about now?
When you say prior, when this came up?
In the recent, like say the last 5 years?
No, these pieces of equipment have been purchased in the last, I believe, 2 years. I think this year was the 2nd year for their use. So, and as I said, the department goes by the requests that they get, and they basically have a waiting list.
And I'm not sure whether you're the person to answer or if there's somebody else in the administration. Currently, the way the overlay, regardless whether it's the West Avenue commercial portion or residential portion, is there anything that currently says that anything that is developed on that land has to exit out to West Avenue? Or is there current availability to where, whether it be West Overdale or Garden Street, could be connected into in this plan?
So that's two separate things. So what you're describing would typically be part of a site plan review that would be attached to the actual development of a particular parcel or parcels. So that's not what the overlay is. The overlay is dealing with what the uses are within the zones, within the overlays.
Could there not be something built into those overlays that state that anything within the overlay has to exit out to West Avenue? I'm concerned, and I'm sure I've talked to neighbors on West Overdale and Nottingham that are very concerned about Garden Street becoming a new access point to whatever could be developed in that area. I would highly recommend to the administration and to council to consider finding a way to include something that can't happen. In my opinion, I would agree that Nottingham doesn't need the additional traffic. That what if and when that area is developed, that West Avenue should feel the burden of that, not our side street. So I hope that that's something that could be considered.
So again, typically what happens with ingress, egress, and those sorts of things is when there's the actual development plan, they'll put in place different conditions or restrictions on that development plan and where they're allowed to ingress, egress. I will say that for fire purposes, we typically like to have at least two methods, so that if one method is blocked off, there's another method. We have historically, when there is concern for the amount of traffic, there have been examples where it is only for fire department access in the state of, in an emergency. And so, there's a gate or there's a Knox box type situation where they could access it, but other traffic would not be able to. So those sorts of things have.
Like a gate or something, is that what you're saying?
So we have different examples of that throughout the city. So, again, we can certainly explore that, we'll look at that, but typically speaking, that would be something that's attached to the actual development plan when it comes forward. And again, the reason for that is because we want to make sure that there's also safety for whoever is potentially utilizing the property, that there would be points of ingress and egress depending on emergency circumstances that people could get in and out. So we'll take a look at that and look at what we could possibly do. But again, normally that would be attached to a site plan review.
I understand that could be attached to anything on that area of the project. But rather than wait for that to happen and hope that it goes in that direction, I would think putting something in place that just prevents it from the get-go so that the neighborhood isn't further disrupted, the streets aren't further disrupted. Like I said, there is the side street, what is that, Sunrise, that can be connected to additional streets, depending on how those properties are developed, can be added. I know this is not the first time I've brought up concerns about commercial traffic going down residential streets or other increased traffic. But I've talked to multiple people that live in the West Overdale, Nottingham area, and that is one of their biggest concerns is Garden Street connecting into that because there's technically access right now.
We can take, like I said, we'll take a look at it. The other thing that we have to be keeping in mind is whatever we're writing is applicable to that entire overlay. So we have to kind of be thinking through, does that make sense for every parcel? So we can't just be thinking about one parcel. You have to think about the entire overlay. So we would need to be we would have to exercise a lot of caution. And again, that would be abnormal to do that sort of thing at that level, but we'll take a look.
Thank you.
Excuse me, may I have 2 minutes, please? I would really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes. Please just state your
full name and address for us.
My name is Shelby Wimmer. I live at 105 Nottingham. My property abuts the Garden Street extension. That is my main concern. I do believe that any type of emergency vehicle, to be pulling in there, you have to build the street. Once you build the street, you've got the toothpaste out of the tube. This administration is not always going to be here. Something could happen 5, 10 years where something changes and somebody wants access from where they're at West Avenue onto Nottingham Street. Once you open it up, you can't close it back up. I actually, this summer, when I heard about this, sat on my front porch, and the paramedics come down the street all the time. I sat on my front porch and counted till they got down to the bottom of the street so they could turn at the light. It was 5 seconds from where my house was before they got to that intersection. I don't have a problem with the fire department. I support the fire department, the police department, the paramedics, but once you do it, you can't take it back. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question for both Ms. Waymer and Ms. Lewis, if you both can come to the. Ms. Waymer, you were first. How long have you lived at your current address?
Well, as sad as it sounds, my whole life, 64 years.
Okay. And in your 64 years, have you ever had any water issues in the back of your property?
No, I have not, but my home has a
Okay.
hill going.
All right. And Ms. Lewis, how long have you lived at your current property?
I'm actually the 7th longest longevity on that street, which gives you an idea of the stableness of that community at the moment. 23 years.
Okay. And do you have any water issues in the back of your property?
No, because again, it's a slope.
Yeah. Okay.
And it when it rains hard, I get a stream running through, but when it stops raining, it dries up, so.
Got it. Okay.
But nothing standing water, no, but I did have to have B-Dry totally do my basement and put a sump pump in. So that's not in my backyard, but that's where my home sits. So I had to do that renovation for my home to keep my basement dry.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, yes. Mr. Klein.
Since everyone's talking, I'll say, do I have to say my name and that?
Yes,
David
please.
Klein, 1178 Grovewood Drive. Just to give you a little history of West Overdale. The property the stub street that's on West Overdale, the property owners there elected to buy the acreage behind them so the road would not go through. So it cannot go through unless she sells her property back to the developer. The one on Nottingham, there's a 3-acre strip of land behind all those homes that is not owned by the big parcel, so that property owner would have to relinquish those 3 acres, which is a buffer, before Garden Street could ever go through. So just to give you a little history, if you didn't know that, there's a lot of protection on that area right now.
Thank you. That's good background. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
My name's Lisa Shaver. I'm at 125 Nottingham on the other side of the garden from Shelby. I just wanted to say that is a great concern to us to have a road there. It's not the type of property I would have purchased when I moved in. I wasn't looking to be a corner home. I was looking to be in a nice, comfortable neighborhood. Right now, I think that our Nottingham Street is a wonderful neighborhood. We often joke that we have won the neighbor lottery because we love each other very much. You know, we all get along on the street. And we also have that nice back against our properties that was just a big field, which we understand that things change. However, I would like to keep that community feel that we have there and would very much push for having only residential builds back in that area rather than a commercial back of a property like Julie mentioned that we would be seeing right against our property that was previously looking out to a beautiful field. So to go to something that's going to be a big commercial, back of a property with trucks coming by, trash cans, that type of thing is really not what I was hoping for my property. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your input. Okay. And I understand that when we're looking at development changing or new projects coming in and out, there's a lot of unknowns that we can't directly address because we don't have plans in front of us, but I just want to assure the residents that everyone sitting here is listening and takes that into account when there are projects in front of us at that time, when we can look at specific details that no matter, how this works in the future, we still have that discretion. And so you've been heard. Thank you for that. Anything else before we move on?
Yes, Madam Chair. We had an individual that wished to speak at a different item on the agenda, so I'll hold off until you close committee. But I wanted to ask if Mr. Jim Case wanted to comment on this specific, these ordinances, or if it was a separate item.
It was under item 7.
Right, but if it was pertaining to planning and zoning ordinances, or no? Okay. Okay, so we'll close committee first.
Okay, thank you. Then, in that case, I will close planning and zoning this time.
All right, thank you very much. And then before we move on to our next committee, Mr. Case, if you'd like to speak, please.
My concern is nothing about zoning, but it's about people. I live in Tallmadge Woods at 204 Tallwood. It is at the corner of Tallwood and Timothy. This last summer, mowing the lawn, a lady fell trying to go across the street, and I helped her get up. She continued, not hurt, scratched on one knee, she was fine. It bothered me because a lot of people would come up to my intersection, which I'm right there on the corner, and they would make an attempt to go across, and they'd have to take their canes, their walkers, their wheelchairs, their buggies, their dogs. We've got a lot of dogs. And the community used to be people of 60 and 70, and now it's a community of 1 month old to who knows how old. God bless your parents. We all need help. I'd like to ask Mike to consider bringing and putting in a handicap crossing at our street and the curb so they don't have to go over the curb. What are we talking, 3 or 4 inches? I don't know. But it's 3 or 4 inches is a 20-foot drop if you've got a child in your hand and you're trying to get across, or you're on a walker or on that. I will help finance it if the city needs help, but God bless the zoning, I care about the people. So I thank you for at least hearing my concern. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Case.
Thank you.
All right, and before I move on to personnel too, have we called upon Nathaniel Adams? Yes. You could come to the mic and state your name and address if you'd like to.
No, I'm not a Thomas resident, but I would be, but thank you.
Okay. All right. Moving on to Personnel Committee, I'll go ahead and open committee. Personnel Committee deals with personnel, labor relations, insurance claims, rules of council, and state statutes. What's wrong? Oh, I apologize. All right, back up. Yeah. All right, that's fine. All right. All right, we'll just keep going then. All right. This evening, we have second readings, ordinances and resolutions for Personnel Ordinance 2024-73. This is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 436, and providing for immediate enactment. And this was requested for an adoption request for execution of the contract? That's correct?
That is correct. They have approved the contract we negotiated.
All right. Oh, no, you're good. All right. So then regarding ordinance 2024-73, We requested adoption at second reading this evening. Do we have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2024-73 at second reading. Any discussion on the request?
Councilman?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'd just like to state that how good the Teamsters were to work with in this negotiation. I mean, they were excellent and very, very cooperative and very, very forthcoming. So I enjoyed it, so.
Thank you.
I would echo Director Rohr's comments. It was a open and honest endeavor, and due to timing, overall timing, it might have taken a couple months. But meeting-wise, it was not many meetings. It went very smoothly.
Thank you very much. All right. Any further comments or discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Jonathan Bolus?
Yes.
Christine Sipa?
Abstain.
Jessica Epstein?
Yes.
Mary Gutman?
Yes.
Donald Pavlik?
Yes.
Ted Roy?
Yes.
Nick Rubino?
Yes.
All right, ordinance 2024-73 passes by a vote of 6-0 with one abstention. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our second ordinance at second reading, ordinance 2024-74. This is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Tallmadge Part-Time Firefighters Association consisting of Tallmadge part-time firefighters and providing for immediate enactment. This is sponsored by Mayor Kilway. This was also requested adoption at second reading to execute the contract. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2024-74 at second reading. Any discussion or comments by administration or council?
I would like to just inform council that the negotiations with the Part-Time Firefighters Association went well and quick, and I believe it was done in actually 4 sessions. And they, Teamsters,
All right, thank you. Any further comments or questions? All right, please call the roll.
Christine Sipa?
Abstain.
Jessica Epstein?
Yes.
Mary Gutman?
Yes.
Donald Pavlik?
Yes.
Ted Roy?
Yes.
Nick Rubino?
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus?
Yes. All right, ordinance 2024-74 passes by a vote of 6-0 with one abstention. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, moving right along to ordinance 2024-75. This is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the International Association of Firefighters Local 2764 in providing for immediate enactment. I believe this is holding its second reading. Any discussion or comments by administration or council?
Negotiations continue, and when we get closer to a contract, we will request an executive session on that.
All right, thank you very much. We'll keep that and give it a third reading. Moving on to ordinance 2024-76. This is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, FOP, consisting of Tallmadge patrol officers and providing for immediate enactment. This is also remaining at second reading. Any comments or questions from administration or council regarding this ordinance?
Negotiations do continue, and we will request an executive session when it's appropriate.
Thank you. Any comments from council? All right, we'll give ordinance 2024-76 a third reading. Moving along, ordinance 2024-77. This is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police consisting of Tallmadge Police Sergeants and Tallmadge Police Lieutenants in providing for immediate enactment. This as well will remain at second reading this evening. Any comments or questions from administration or council?
And the same comment, will request an executive session when appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions by council? All right. Ordinance 2024-77 will remain at second reading. Moving along to first reading of ordinances and resolutions. This evening, we have ordinance 2024-86. This is suspending ordinance 2023-77, section 3A for fiscal year 2025 until certain conditions are met and providing for immediate enactment. It's currently at first reading. I didn't see a request at all for this one this evening.
So just to explain to council what we're doing, the way our ordinances are currently written, non-bargaining employees get the average of the union contracts increase. That's how non-bargaining employees get their wage increase. Due to the fact we're ending the year, we have basically two contracts, police, fire, that have not been negotiated. This is a way to not kind of hold our non-bargaining employees. We do have two union contracts that have passed. We know that an increase is coming, but this is a way of getting them something at the beginning of the year until everything is settled and not making them have to kind of sit back and wait for an annual wage adjustment until we have settled those other two contracts. At the end of once those contracts are settled, we'll reconcile everything out and make sure that they're adjusted appropriately. But this just gets them at the beginning of the year something so that they're kind of not stuck with nothing until the rest of the union contracts settle.
So seeing that this is the last council meeting of the year, this is something that you want to...
It would be nice if you could pass it at first reading. If you do not, after the first council, I would at least like it at second reading. After the first council meeting of the year, there's only a couple days in January that would have actually been paid by then. But if you would be willing to consider it at first reading, that would.
Since this is my first time on council, the veteran council people and the mayor, is this standard?
Yes, this is standard. This has been going on for the last 13 years that I've been around, so.
Yeah, and I think it's dependent upon, like, ongoing negotiations.
Right, so it's only
and-
during contract negotiation years is when it.
Right, we don't really, if we had settled all the contracts, we wouldn't be here.
wouldn't be here.
But based on the experiences we've had contracts go, till November of the next, so it's just a way to kind of let the non-bargaining members have some kind of wage increase. We know we're going to be giving them something. We did we just went ahead and used the 3% that we had incorporated into the budget.
Yeah, and this, just regarding the comment of annual wage adjustment, this is typically dependent upon a negotiation year. There's not annual wage adjustments each year.
So there is an annual wage, so once the union contracts are established, there's 3 years of wage adjustment. So those are,
Right, but it doesn't come to, I'm saying it won't.
no, it would just be, once the contracts are passed, we go back to ordinance 2023-77, which dictates how we give
Right,
non-bargaining increases.
got it. And just, again, and this is in the ordinance as well, this does not, this excludes all elected officials.
Correct, elected officials will not get
Right.
theirs, and because you can't vote for an interim increase, so
Right.
elected officials have to wait until the union contracts are settled, and then they will receive the.
Just wanted to state that.
Yes.
Any comments or questions on the ordinance this evening, 2024-86? This is at first reading.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance at first reading. Any additional discussion before we call the roll? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Dubman,
Yes.
Donald Havlet.
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Christine Sipa.
Yes.
All right, the ordinance passes by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And before closing personnel, I just wanted to add a point of order. I had meant to set the organizational meeting, or the reorganizational meeting for, set a date for that. And I had meant to do that at additional items. Should we just wait until the conclusion of the meeting, or is that appropriate to do in personnel?
You could do it in personnel, or you could do it under, before, just prior to adjournment, either way.
Okay.
You could do it now if you
Yeah,
wanted
let's
to.
just knock it out. So,
You will need a motion and a second, and then a vote.
okay. So, again, as we had received a resignation from the president of council, we therefore, pursuant to TCO 111.01, Rule 3, we must set a reorganizational meeting that will be chaired by the Director of Law for the purpose of electing the president of council. I would like to make the motion to set that for 6:30 PM on January the 9th.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to have our reorganizational meeting scheduled for January 9th at 6:30 PM in 2025. Any discussion or questions? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Ed Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Christine Sipa,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein.
Yes.
Thank you. We have set our organizational meeting or reorganizational meeting for January 9th, 2025 at 6:30 PM. Thank you. All right. And I will close personnel, and we will now revert back to Finance Committee. Mr. Pavlik.
All right. The Finance Committee deals with budget appropriations, reappropriations, bonds, franchises, investments, and expenditures. We have two ordinances tonight, one in third reading, ordinance 2024-67, Amendment Exhibit A, amending the supplemental ordinance 2023-84 to amend rates, charges, and fees for all recreational facilities and providing for immediate enactment. Sponsor of this ordinance is Mayor Carol Kilway. Ms. Kilway, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I have nothing. Additionally, we've gone over this for several weeks now. It's at third reading. Do you guys have any questions on rates or anything like that?
I do, and Service Director Rohr, this was what you looked at and studied with the additional.
Correct.
Is there any questions or comments from council? Hearing none, is there a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Council administration? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ed Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Christine Sipa,
Abstain.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Okay, with that motion, ordinance 2024-67, amended Exhibit A passes with a motion of 6-0 with one abstention.
Thank you.
Next up is first reading of ordinance 2024-85, authorizing the mayor to enter into contract for the purchase of an HVAC system heat exchangers through Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program, appropriating necessary funds and providing for a needed enactment. Sponsor of this ordinance is Director of Service, Mr. Rohr. This ordinance has been read into record. Mr. Rohr, do you have any comments?
Yes, those heat exchangers are part of the original build when the building was constructed, so they're over 20 years old, and they can't be repaired. And the problem with them is they could release carbon monoxide. Right now, we're testing that daily. They are not, but they could easily do it. And this time of year is when you need your heat exchangers, so it's important we get moving on this. It's technically an emergency, and Sourcewell is one of those purchasing programs that we don't have to go out to bid for.
How long will this take to get done?
Maybe a month. That's why we want to order them now.
They have them in stock?
They're ready to send them.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent.
What's the cost involved?
So it's 70,000.
70?
Yeah, and just a question or a comment. So this was a 2003 HVAC system, heat exchangers, operated over 20 years, become outdated. So is that the average useful life?
That's a good year. I mean, that's a good run with them. So you get 20 years out of them. That's awesome.
Okay.
Problem is everything in that building is 20 years. So I'll be here quite a bit doing this on everything. HVAC throughout. Because everything's 20 years old in there.
Any other questions from council? Comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus.
Yes.
Christine Sipa,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes. Okay. Ordinance 2024-85 passes with a motion of 7-0.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that needs to be brought forth to finance? Hearing none, I will close committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we'll move on to our Safety Committee with Councilman Rubino.
Thank you. I call Safety Committee to order. The Safety Committee deals with disaster services, communications, fire, and paramedics, police, and health. We currently have no legislation before us tonight. Does anybody have any questions or comments for our Safety Committee? Hearing none, I close committee.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Rubino. Next up, we'll move to Community Issues Committee. Chair, Councilman Roy.
Yes, I'd like to open up community issues. Community Issues Committee deals with Parks and Recreation, Civil Affairs, and liaison between Council and Recreation Board and Intergovernmental Affairs. We have nothing in front of us today. Is there any additional comments? If not, I will close committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we will move to Public Service Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Epstein.
Epstein.
Epstein, I'm sorry about that.
Thank you. I call Public Service Committee to order. The Public Service Committee deals with streets, highways, sidewalks, buildings, and improvements, water, sewer, electricity, gas, energy resources, recycling, waste, and trash. We have nothing before us this evening. Is there any other items for discussion?
I just have one, if that's
Yes.
all right. I just want to announce that winter shifts, I forgot when we were talking about the snowplow route, so winter shift starts January 5th, so at that time, we'll have 24-hour coverage for the snowplowing. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Anything else? All right, hearing none, I close committee.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to item 11, reports of special committees. Council Operations Committee. As chair, I have nothing to report this evening, but following the approval of the budget this evening, we can execute the contract with Dove AV for another year of live streaming. So looking forward to that. Any comments or questions for reports of special committees? All right, I will close committee. Moving on to item 12, announcements. Any announcements this evening? Anyone else in the audience that would wish to speak on an item not on the agenda this evening? All right. With that being said, I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. Clerk, please call the roll.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Christine Sipa,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
We have a motion to adjourn. It is now 8:24 PM. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.